Hi, my name is Tia Torhorst. I am the CEO of the Milwaukee Harbor District. We are a community partner in the Water Restoration Partnership, which I'll talk about a little bit more in a few minutes, and actively involved in a lot of the work happening in the area of concern. The Harbor District leads the revitalization of Milwaukee's Harbor District by connecting people to place, supporting a healthy business community, and improving the quality of our natural environment. The district's footprint is approximately south of the 3rd Ward to Bayview and east of the 1st Street. First of all, what is happening in the Milwaukee area that caused the Water Restoration Partnership and its local project sponsors to develop this material and presentation covering contracting opportunities? There's a $400 million cleanup in Milwaukee's waterways and adjacent areas to address the area of concern environmental issues. We will cover those issues and what an area of concern is in the next few slides. A majority of these dollars will be through federal grant funding in the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative with some fiscal support through local and regional grants. This ultimately means jobs and opportunities for contracts with local and regional vendors in a large variety of fields of expertise. These contracts will include different phases from planning and feasibility projects through construction and restoration and monitoring work. They have been and will commonly be led by a number of entities throughout the Milwaukee Estuary area of concern in a competitive process for the requests for proposals or bids. The entities with contract opportunities include many different partners leading a variety of projects. For the purposes of this presentation, we are trying to create an aligned approach among partners to make the business community aware of the different opportunities as they become available. Some of them are just listed on this slide. Now, we will be covering an overview of the Area of Concern program with the focus that these contracting opportunities will be supporting the goal to address environmental issues surrounding the Milwaukee area estuary area of concern. First, what is an area of concern? An area of concern is an area on the Great Lakes that has a history of significant environmental degradation from human activities, preventing people and wildlife from fully using or enjoying the local waterway. The map that you see on your screen is a map of the 5 Great Lakes: Superior, Michigan, Huron, Erie, and Ontario, with the 31 highly degraded shoreline areas in the U.S. and 12 are on the Canadian side that were identified as areas of concern in the 1980s as part of the Great Lakes Water Quality Agreement, 5 of which are binational AOCs shared with the U.S. and Canada. Wisconsin has 5 areas of concern: the St. Louis River in the Lake Superior Basin and in the Lake Michigan Basin, the Lower Menominee River, Lower Green Bay and Fox River, Sheboygan River, and the Milwaukee Estuary, with the Milwaukee Estuary specifically called out on this map. All of the AOCs are at different stages of being addressed, with management actions, also known as projects, being completed or in progress. In 2020, the Lower Menominee River was the first Wisconsin area of concern to be removed from this list in degraded shorelines communities. We are here today to talk about the important work necessary to get the Milwaukee Estuary off of that list as well. So that begs the question, what is the Milwaukee Estuary? The blue shaded areas on this map indicate the 4 watersheds that overlap with the AOC boundary. These land areas drain into the rivers and then eventually Lake Michigan. The Milwaukee Estuary AOC more specifically focuses on the portions of these waterways that are indicated in yellow on this map. These are the areas that are targeted for cleanup of historical contamination and environmental degradation that is endangering the public's use of the recreational resources in the area. The AOC is fairly large and covers 2 counties, Ozaukee and Milwaukee, 3 primary tributaries, Milwaukee, Menominee, and Kinnickinnick, 3 secondary tributaries, Lincoln Creek, Cedar Creek, Little Menominee River, and 13 municipalities. If our goal is to clean up the area of concern so that the Milwaukee Estuary is no longer on the list of Great Lakes area of concern, how do we do that? In order to no longer be listed as an AOC, we must address the issues that aren't allowing the public to fully enjoy using the water in a safe way for eating, drinking, swimming, fishing, etc. In general, we have organized the work into 3 objectives: cleaning up our waterways and improving water quality, restoring fish and wildlife habitat and populations, improving outdoor recreational opportunities like swimming, boating, and fishing. Of course, there are a lot of details and specific projects. We will be covering the types of contractor opportunities, the standard process for procuring and awarding contracts, as well as ways to learn more about the upcoming opportunities. Before moving on to talk about contractor opportunities, we would like to mention the partnership that was formed to address the wide-ranging objectives of the area of concern to get Milwaukee off of the list of degraded shoreline communities. We all determined that this work cannot be done alone and requires significant levels of collaboration and partnership. The Waterway Restoration Partnership is a group of long-standing, trusted partners in the community who have been working together for years to improve water quality in the area. The Water Restoration Partnership is currently made up of area of concern project sponsors, as well as other governmental and non-governmental organizations actively participating in area of concern work groups and representing over 150 individuals and 20 plus organizations. If you would like to get involved in continuing to following the work of the partnership and learn about ways you can individually get involved or get your community involved, please email wrp@mkewaterwaypartners.org. Again, that's wrp@mkewaterwaypartners.org to connect with us and also visit that website. Thank you.
Greetings, my name is Shalina Ali. I'm a part of the Milwaukee Estuary Area of Concern Community Advisory Committee. The Community Advisory Committee, otherwise known as the CAC, are a group of diverse community members and stakeholders working to ensure Milwaukee residents, especially those historically underrepresented or even excluded from environmental decision-making, play an active role in making decisions about shared waters in these areas of concerns. The CAC serves as a liaison to the voice of the community in the process of cleaning up the Milwaukee Estuary AOC. We do this by creating and facilitating conversations between the community and the regulatory authorities in charge of completing this work, ensuring the community's concerns and ideas are being recognized and prioritized. We do this by 1, building community voice into planning and decision-making about AOC projects, and 2, supporting outbound communications and efforts to broaden the reach of AOC engagement efforts. Lastly, we want to make sure that this is a fun process and that we're engaging the community in a way that makes them feel like they have a relationship with the waters and that they are inspired to be engaged.
Hello, I am joining you today. My name is Brennan Dow. I am the Milwaukee Estuary and Area of Concern Coordinator for the Wisconsin DNR. So my role today's presentation is touching on a number of procurement processes for the Wisconsin DNR, as well as talking about general timing and size of contracts, as well as standard procuring process among WRP partners, which will be covered by MSD. So with that, we will move into the next slide. So what are the contracting opportunities? Listed here is a Venn diagram illustration that shows different types of work that will be available to address some of the previously mentioned AOC objectives covered by Tia. This diagram of contracting opportunities is not to be comprehensive or ranked in a certain order, but to give you a common sense of what will be available through AOC projects. It is important to note that some of these opportunities to address environmental issues in the AOC overlap between the AOC objectives that you see here, that being cleaned up waterways and restored ecosystems. For more information about projects and work that's happening within the AOC, you can visit the WRP webpage that was listed previously. So with that, when will contracts be awarded? Some of the work is actually already underway through the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative. Shown on the right is a picture from the Little Menominee River Parkway restoration project that is being led by Milwaukee County Parks. It shows invasive species removal work as well as restoration work in the parkway. More work is still yet to be done and funded through the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative, as well as the influx in federal funds from the bipartisan infrastructure law to address AOC issues. These issues will likely be addressed, and a lot of these contracting opportunities will happen before the year of 2030. And commonly, these requests for proposals or opportunities that are put out for bid are commonly released between the fall and spring seasons due to federal fiscal years starting in October and the approval of funds by EPA to support those projects at that time. So ultimately, projects are not known to be, project phases are not known to be awarded before that fall period, and sponsors are able to work with the state to implement that work. And so the size of contracts, what's the expected size? The size for AOC projects has actually a pretty large range, depending on the phase and type of contract, as well as the amount of work that it covers, can be anywhere from a few thousand to millions of dollars. And so for simplicity purposes, we have broken it up into common types of contracts, understanding that some entities have different terminology for the phases of work to be contracted. Just important to note here that design phases of contracts will not be bid as design build, and that the contractor who completes the design is not able to bid on the construction phase of the project. The common types of contracts for those different phases usually follow in the process of planning, design, construction, oversight, and maintenance. And with that, I will pass it over to Pete Cafaro from MMSD. Thank you.
Thank you, Brennan. As Brennan had mentioned, my name is Pete Cafaro at Milwaukee Metropolitan Sewage District, and I work here to help oversee the contracting activities as well as our social responsibility policies. I have the opportunity to talk about the two formal procurement methods that will be used to secure the various services that Brennan just covered. The first is the invitation to bid process. This is a standard process that is stipulated by state statutes and federal regulations. And for all the governmental entities that are on this call today, those provisions are very clearly stipulated. The very first of those is the notice. All government entities have to publish their contracting activities in a paper of record. For almost all of our entities, that's the daily reporter. We also send out emails to all registered vendors, and the opportunities get posted on our respective government websites. There is a distinction, though, for something called a plan holders list. A plan holder list is a contractor that is clearly interested in bidding on a construction bid, and they decide to order the bid documents. And it's an indication to the government entity that they are a very high probable firm to look at it. Could be also a subcontractor. There's sometimes a fee associated with it. As part of that fee, you get the contract documents, hard copy, but you will also receive any addendum that go with that particular project, which are so important for the contractor to pay attention to and acknowledge when they submit their bid. It should be noted that even if you don't become a plan holder, you can always see all the documents for free at no cost. All construction bids incorporate bonding and insurance requirements. Bonding could be the surety bond. It could be payment bonds to make sure that all contractors are paid, and performance bonds to make sure that the work is actually completed. Contractors are always encouraged to pay special attention to the insurance requirements. Those insurance requirements will vary somewhat from entity to entity and can sometimes be modified depending on the nature of the project. With almost all of the AOC projects, there's going to be one prime contractor with multiple subcontractors. It could be 2 subcontractors, it could be 14 subcontractors, but generally the prime contractor will solicit quotes from different subcontractors for work such as the fencing or electrical or trucking. The contract is awarded to the lowest responsive and responsible qualified bidder. Lowest responsive bidder meaning the bid was on time, the contractor signed the sworn statement, and also submitted a surety bond. Responsible and qualified refers to components that perhaps they had to provide references of similar projects that they have done in the past, or that there was a specific type of equipment that they need to make sure that they have. That allows the jurisdiction to not only award solely based on cost, but also look at whether this is a qualified bidder and can actually complete the work. It should be noted that there's no negotiation. When you submit a bid, and this is an example of one such bid, it's a $5 million contract. When you submit that bid, you're submitting it a promise to that organization to do the work for that price. There's no after-the-fact negotiation. All of our government entities on this call have supplier diversity practices. It could be awards to minority women-owned businesses or small businesses. They might be called disadvantaged business enterprises, but we really work to increase the diversity of the contractors that serve in this area. Davis-Bacon or public works / construction projects. Davis-Bacon requirements reflect on the wages that must be paid to the workers, and generally when federal funds are involved, the Davis-Bacon wage provisions will apply. And then finally, many of our entities like the city, the county, and the MMSD will have local worker or apprentice inclusion requirements, even if it goes by somewhat of a different name for each entity. Next slide. So the second formal procurement opportunity is for services that fall in the line of professional services. It's not construction. It's not a public work. It could be for design work. It could be for non-construction projects. It is where you want an idea, an approach, an innovation. Very similar, there's a public advertisement in the paper of record. Bid notifications are sent to registered contractors, and all opportunities are posted on a government website. They may also include pre-proposal meetings where the project manager will review the components of the project, as well as an opportunity for question and answer meetings, as well as an opportunity for contractors to express their interest and try to connect with sub-consultants. Also, even though bonding requirements do not apply, there are insurance requirements that any person submitting an RFP should be very closely paying attention to those insurance requirements. The award is not made to the lowest cost. The award is based on a variety of criteria. It could be the project approach. It could be the organizational capabilities. It could be the specific team members. Cost is still a component, but it is not the deciding component. So the lowest cost proposal is not always the highest scoring proposal. The one prime consultant per project also may apply here, where they break down the work among many subcontractors or subconsultants. With that, why don't we go to each government entity to help explain some of the particularities about how you can get connected to their opportunities. The first person I'll turn it over to is Rob Williams from MMSD.
Thank you, Pete. My name is Rob Williams, Supply Diversity Specialist with the Milwaukee Metropolitan Sewage District. I'm going to go over how to find those opportunities with MMSD, how to be alerted to the opportunities, and for MMSD opportunities, regularly view district procurement opportunities, and those go out on our website, MMSD.com/procurement. You can go and click on the procurement opportunity link about halfway down, and there you will see all of the MMSD opportunities that are coming up for construction bids and design RFPs, an active vendor registration in B2G Now, and that can happen by, again, visiting our website, mmsd.diversitycompliance.com, and that will take you to B2G Now to sign up as an active vendor. We encourage all those looking to do business with MMSD to become an active vendor in our vendor registration system. Again, that goes right along with signing up for interested vendors list for upcoming opportunity, keeping an eye out for our annual contractor and consultants meeting, and then of course contacting procurement and the procurement supervisor and supply diversity specialist. Next. MMSD social responsibility component. So is our goal, is our goal to award at least 20% of all contract awards for small, women, and minority-owned business enterprises. That participation breaks down for MBE. The goal is 13% minority-owned businesses. For the small businesses, that's 5%. And for women-owned businesses, 2%. Local workforce participation, that is targeted workforce utilization in our sanitary sewer service area and residents within the target area. For residents within the sanitary sewer service area, the goal is about 45%, and for residents in the target area, 20%. Utilization of apprentices and interns is encouraged on a lot of our projects, all of our projects. Apprentices varies and interns varies on contract size as well. Next slide. For resources, the MMSD, we have a business capacity development program which is available for small, women, minority, and veteran business owners. There is lots of opportunity that can be found on our website, different links that will take you to different upcoming events, one-on-one business mentoring, virtual online training, and other business networking seminars. And to get in contact with MMSD, please you can reach out to myself, Robert Williams, Supply Diversity Specialist, or Michelle Kazmarowski, our Procurement Supervisor. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Natalie Dutak, the Area of Concern Program Supervisor for Milwaukee County Parks. And today I'm going to talk to you about the county's procurement procedures related to our AOC projects. The first thing to know is that most of our opportunities will be habitat improvement projects. These are parks projects led primarily by the natural areas and planning departments. And we have two general project types. Habitat design, where we will be seeking consultants to create habitat restoration plans, and habitat restoration, which will be a bid process seeking contractors to implement plans. Next slide. So the steps outlined earlier for bid and RFP processes are very similar for the county. I'm just going to highlight a few important items. First, as noted earlier, these will not be design-build projects. Milwaukee County is generally prohibited by state statute from entering into design-build contracts, so we just like to remind everyone ahead of time. Then, in order to bid on a project, you must be a pre-qualified contractor with Milwaukee County. Now, this is a process that can be completed on the county website, and contractors need to apply no later than 5 days prior to submitting a bid. Because area of concern projects are unique and can include firms that the county typically classifies as consultants, it's best to start the process by coordinating with me, the Area of Concern Program Supervisor. Then bids are awarded to the lowest qualified bidder. We wanted to clarify that this is different from being a pre-qualified contractor. This is the requirement to meet project management experience outlined in the bid package. An example of this experience could be a requirement of over 5 years managing or restoring habitat of a similar type to the project area. RFPs, on the other hand, are scored on criteria outlined in the proposal documents. That's usually a combination of experience, qualifications, approach, and cost proposal response. And again, as noted earlier, that does not necessarily mean the lowest cost proposal will be awarded that contract. And as far as targeted business enterprise requirements, those will be determined on a project-by-project basis. But for the county, we will seek to meet at minimum the EPA 8% statute. Next slide. All of Milwaukee County's procurement opportunities will be posted online, and those links are provided on this slide. Bids and RFPs can be found on the County Department of Administrative Services website. Bids are also shared via Bid Express, and RFPs are posted via Bonfire. Both Bid Express and Bonfire require registration, and we obviously recommend that you regularly review these pages to learn about our upcoming procurement opportunities. Next slide. So as far as recommendations and resources, we like to remind everyone that for bids, contractors will need to have active vendor registration in B2G Now, and that invoicing is tracked with LCP Tracker. If contractors are not acquainted with either of these platforms, we recommend familiarizing yourself with them. And the county also provides guides and resources, and there are also trainings available. When you're trying to meet the targeted business enterprise goals, we remind contractors and potential subcontractors to ensure they're certified vendors. And resources for everything I just discussed and topics mentioned earlier, they're all available online at the Diversity Management and Compliance System and CDBP resources websites. Next slide. All right. And finally, for questions about area of concern project opportunities, you can contact me, Natalie Dutek. And for questions related to DBE and diversity requirements, you can contact Lamont Robinson. Now I will pass it on to Benji for the City of Milwaukee. Ooh, apologies, Brendan.
That's okay. I will go next for the DNR, and then we'll move over to Benji. So thanks, Natalie. I'll be covering the Wisconsin DNR procurement web pages and details for how to get signed up for notifications for state-led projects. And so for Wisconsin DNR opportunities, listed here are links to the state website. The first link covers our e-supplier page, which is used for vendor registration and for the purchase of goods and services by the state. The second link is Vendor Net, which is used specifically for capital improvement and construction projects. I want to note that for the e-supplier page, that is normally where purchases of goods and services are found. But for Vendor Net, that is actually solely for capital improvement construction projects. And so if you're interested for either or, you will likely have to visit both. Secondly, vendors that register with the state as part of the supplier diversity program, the state provides a 5% preference for registered MBE and DVBE businesses. That is something that you might have commonly heard from the past procurement processes, but just something that I want to mention for what the state does as well. And so now you're probably wondering, how do I register? In order to register for the Wisconsin DNR webpage, which is technically the Department of Administration, but for state projects, you go to the e-supplier page. You click on the link, create a WAMS ID, which is the way in how you're able to log in and register. Once you're able to create your ID, you can select one of our NIGP license commodity codes, which identifies goods and services procured by the state. As part of when you list yourself for one of those codes, you'll receive notifications based on which ones you select. And one of those frequent notifications that you'll get is if you select codes that are in relation to your business of expertise, specifically for areas that you can select from. You can get notified for codes generally for the Milwaukee area and the area of concern. For the Wisconsin DNR registration website as well, there is on the e-supplier page, there's an FAQ location call-out box that you can find to assist you with the bidding process. These links provide more information for specific items. So, for example, on your screen, I clicked on how do I search for solicitations, and as shown here in the example on the right is providing you information to be able to how you can search for those solicitations on the e-supplier bidder portal. And with that, that is all that I have for Wisconsin DMR procurement projects. And for contact information for area of concern project opportunities, you can get a hold of myself, Brendan Dow, or you can reach out to Lori Buckley. She's our contract specialist for Wisconsin DNR. And with that, I will send it over to Benji for the City of Milwaukee. Thank you.
Thanks, Brennan. Hi, my name is Benji, and I'm a project manager with the City of Milwaukee. So the City of Milwaukee has a number of agencies participating in the AOC work that includes Port Milwaukee, Department of City Development, Department of Public Works, and the Health Department. Overall, the City of Milwaukee is going to be playing a relatively small role in the contracting work compared to some of our other non-federal sponsors. The work at this point will involve cleaning out PCB contamination out of storm sewers and then lining the storm sewers and the manholes with flowable cementitious grout. This work will be contracted through our Department of Public Works. So my comments today will focus on the procurement process for the city's Department of Public Works. Next slide, please. So there's three primary ways for finding out about bids with the City of Milwaukee. I highly recommend everybody sign up for the city's e-notify system. There's a lot of information you can obtain from the e-notify system, including all bids, RFPs, and other opportunities from the City of Milwaukee. So if you go to the city's e-notify website, you can sign up for different bid opportunities, meetings, all sorts of information. As with many of the other partners on this presentation, the government website, the city's website in this case, has all of the bid opportunities on it. So all of the bid opportunities, the requirements, and the associated documents, including any addendums that are issued or additional information. And then all public bids are published in the Daily Reporter in print on a regular basis, and those notices are usually printed for 2 to 3 consecutive days. Next. So as Pete Cafaro from MMSD pointed out, he did a very nice job of going through the requirements that are very similar to all of the government agencies. So I won't spend a lot of time going through this, but the city has bonding requirements, insurance requirements. Make sure as a prospective contractor that you understand all of those requirements and rules and that you can comply with them. I will mention that some of the common mistakes that people make, which doesn't allow them to submit a bid or the bid gets kicked out, is they don't sign forms, they don't sign affidavits, they don't include all the documents. So make sure that you go through the bid document. The City of Milwaukee provides a checklist for all the required documents that are required for a bid. So we try and help the contractors so that they can check off all the required documents and make sure they submit those. But make sure that you sign everything, check everything twice. Also check the bid form. Make sure that your math is correct, that you're looking at the quantities, and that you're basically following the directions. I've seen a lot of bids get rejected because for very simple math errors. So I highly recommend double checking your work. And then the City of Milwaukee offers a revolving loan program. We have a low interest loan program for primarily small business enterprise companies who need a little extra help to get a contract, either as a prime or as a sub. And our loan program can help people. The loan can be granted for up to 25% of the total contract dollars with a maximum of $35,000 and a minimum of $1,500. And you can find the eligibility requirements for our revolving loan program on our Office of Equity and Inclusion website, as well as the Department of Public Works website at the bottom of the screen. Next. So in the City of Milwaukee also has social program requirements, very similar to our other partners. We have a 25% small business enterprise or SBE requirement, where 25% of all the contract dollars must be performed by a SBE certified company. We also have a resident preference program where 40% of the labor hours must be performed by City of Milwaukee residents, and 25% of that work must be performed by workers who live in a high poverty zip code. And information about all of those programs, the SBE program, the RPP program, and the apprentice program can be found on the city's Office of Equity and Inclusion website, as well as on the Department of Public Works website. Next. And then this slide is very busy, but it has a number of websites that can be very helpful for finding out information, again, about what bid opportunities are available, how to go about submitting a bid, and then also how to find small business enterprise companies. We have a directory on the city website, as well as how to become a Residence Preference Program worker, or how to find Residence Preference Program workers, RPP workers. So go through all these websites, and they should answer all of your questions. And if they can't, Brennan, the next slide has my contact information, and feel free to reach out. If I can answer the question, I'm more than happy to direct you to someone who can. So thank you.
Thank you, Benji. So that wraps up all of the information that we had for you today about procurement opportunities within the Milwaukee Estuary Area of Concern, as well as with all of our sponsors for our Area of Concern projects. For future projects that will be happening in the AOC for sponsors that are not in this presentation today, you can visit the MKEWaterwayPartners.org webpage, as well as visit that webpage for more details in the future. And again, if you visit that webpage listed on this slide, you can also sign up for e-newsletters to get more information. With that, thank you and have a great day.